Okay, so get ready, because today we're going deep on how to properly say and write the capital of Mongolia.
You mean Ulaanbaatar?
Yes. Ulaanbaatar.
Mm.
But it's not just about, just getting the spelling right.
Right.
It's like we're going to, uncover all these historical and cultural things connected to it.
Absolutely.
That's going to be way more interesting than just, letters on a page.
Definitely.
It's like, imagine this. Okay.
Okay.
Like you're writing a postcard or addressing a letter.
Yeah.
Or even just telling a story about your travels.
Uh-huh.
How do you write Ulaanbaatar Mongolia correctly?
Well, that's a great question, and actually a lot of people get it wrong.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I would have thought that was pretty straightforward.
Well, the spelling itself can be tricky, but then there are all these, layers of history and meaning that most people don't even realize are there.
Okay, well, I am ready to have my mind blown then.
Perfect.
So first things first.
Yeah.
What is the correct spelling?
It is Ulaanbaatar.
Ulaanbaatar. Okay, so not Ulaanbaatar.
That's actually a common misspelling, especially older texts might use that, but the official spelling is definitely Ulaanbaatar.
Ulaanbaatar. Okay, I'm going to try and remember that.
And you know what's even cooler?
What?
That name, Ulaanbaatar. It's not just some random word.
Oh.
It actually means something. It translates to Red Hero.
Wait a second. Red Hero.
Yeah.
Okay, that is way cooler than I expected. I thought it was just some geographical term or something.
Yeah. Red Hero, and that's where the story gets really interesting.
Okay, I am all ears then.
Yeah.
Who are these red heroes? We're talking about superheroes or something.
Not quote superheroes, but definitely figures who hold a heroic status in Mongolian history.
Okay.
So we're talking about national heroes, people who played key roles in Mongolia's fight for independence and freedom.
Wow, so it's like their courage and strength is woven into the very name of the capital city.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder of their legacy.
I'm getting chills. Okay, but I have to admit, I have seen it spelled Ulaanbaatar before.
Yeah, you're right. That was actually the more common spelling, especially in the West until the 1990s.
Oh, really? So what happened then? Did they have a big national spelling bee or something?
Not quite a spelling bee, but it was a time of big change for Mongolia. They were transitioning to democracy after being under Soviet influence for so long.
Right.
And so this shift to Ulaanbaatar was part of a bigger movement to reclaim their cultural identity.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's like the spelling itself became a symbol of their newfound freedom.
Exactly. It's a powerful example of how language can reflect those kinds of shifts in a society.
Okay, you've officially blown my mind. But okay, so we've got the spelling down, Ulaanbaatar, Red Hero.
Yes.
But, even with the Roman alphabet, we're still just trying to capture the sound of a word from a totally different writing system, right?
That's a really important point. Ulaanbaatar is a Romanized version of a Mongolian word. It's like we're trying to phonetically write down a sound that we've never heard before. We can get close, but it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like trying to describe a color that doesn't exist in our language.
Okay, yeah, I get that. So
Yeah.
tell me, what does the original Mongolian script look like?
Imagine this, okay? It's this beautiful flowing script written vertically.
Vertically.
Yes. From left to right. It's almost like calligraphy.
Wow.
And then on top of that, there's also the Cyrillic alphabet, which was introduced during the Soviet era. So that looks completely different again.
Okay, so we've got traditional Mongolian script Cyrillic, and then our Romanized version. Ulaanbaatar has all these secret codes.
Exactly. And each one tells a different part of the city's story.
This is amazing. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface here.
We definitely have a lot more to explore.
But before we get too carried away, I do have one more practical question.
Okay, shoot.
If I'm sending that postcard,
Yeah.
how do I write it out so it actually gets to Ulaanbaatar?
Good question. So formally, you would write Ulaanbaatar Mongolia, with the comma separating the city and the country.
Okay, that makes sense. I've definitely seen it written without the comma too, though.
Yeah, you'll see that in more casual settings, like if you're just chatting with someone. But
Yeah.
when in doubt, especially for something official, like an introduction's comma it out.
Comma it out. Got it.
Yeah.
So Ulaanbaatar, Kana, Mongolia.
You got it.
But, it's easy to get caught up in the spelling and forget that Ulaanbaatar, it's not just letters on a page. It's a real place.
Absolutely.
With a whole geographical and political story.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about that. Where exactly is Ulaanbaatar?
Okay, so picture Mongolia. It's kind of shaped like a sideways crescent moon.
Okay, I can see that.
And Ulaanbaatar is nestled right in the north-central region, almost like the heart of the country.
Oh, wow. So it's right in the middle of everything.
It is. It's the capital and the largest city in Mongolia. So it's a pretty bustling metropolis surrounded by this vast landscape.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of the place. So if I wanted to just like casually mention Ulaanbaatar in a conversation,
Yeah.
how would I do that?
You could say something like, I heard Ulaanbaatar has this really cool blend of modern and traditional architecture. Like you've got Buddhist temples right next to skyscrapers.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not just like a boring city. It's got some character.
Oh, it definitely has character.
Okay, so you mentioned Buddhist temples. Does that mean Ulaanbaatar has a strong Buddhist influence?
You're picking up on all the right clues.
Yeah.
Buddhism has played a huge role in shaping Mongolian culture, and you'll see that reflected all over Ulaanbaatar in the architecture, the art, even just everyday life.
Okay, this is getting more and more interesting by the second.
Mm.
I feel like we could talk about Ulaanbaatar all day,
We probably could.
but I think we need to take a break and let all this new information sink in. We've gone from spelling to red heroes to geography to Buddhism.
It's been quite a journey already.
It has. But don't worry, everyone. We'll be back soon to explore even more fascinating layers of Ulaanbaatar.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our Ulaanbaatar deep dive.
Oh man, my mind is still spinning from all that stuff about red heroes and ancient scripts.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's so fascinating.
It really is.
Okay, so you know how we were talking about all the different ways to like write Ulaanbaatar? Like with or without the comma and all that?
Right.
It got me thinking, like, even in English, we use all these like variations of words depending on, how formal we need to be.
Absolutely.
Like if I'm texting my friend, I might shorten a city name, but if I'm writing a letter, I'd use the full official name.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So is it kind of like that with Ulaanbaatar too?
Oh, totally.
Really?
Yeah. So we already covered the formal version, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia,
Right, for official stuff.
Exactly. But let's say you're just like chatting with someone who already knows you're talking about Mongolia.
Yeah,
Do you really need to say the whole thing every time?
probably not. It would sound kind of weird.
Exactly. It's like saying the United States of America every time you mention something about your own country.
Uh-huh, right. So in those cases, I can just say Ulaanbaatar.
You got it. It's all about context.
Context, okay. But what about those like in-between situations?
Like what?
Like say I'm writing a blog post about my travels, and people from all over the world are going to read it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Should I be super formal, or can I like loosen up a bit?
I think in those cases, it's best to err on the side of clarity, especially when you have an international audience.
Right, because not everyone knows the context.
Exactly. So using the full name, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, just make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Okay, so when in doubt, calm it out.
Exactly. Our golden rule for Ulaanbaatar.
Perfect. But all this talk about spelling and different versions,
Right.
it makes you realize that language is like always changing, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, and like adapting to new situations and stuff.
Totally. So it makes you wonder, like, what other variations of Ulaanbaatar have there been over time?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
We talked about Ulaanbaatar being common before the 90s.
Right. Well, before they standardized the system they use today, Mongolia actually went through a bunch of different romanization systems.
Romanization systems.
Yeah, like different ways of trying to represent the sounds of their language using our alphabet.
Oh, so it's not just the spelling that changed. It's like the whole system behind it.
Exactly.
Wow, I get my head spinning again.
But it's cool though, right? It shows how language reflects like cultural values and historical influences and stuff.
It totally does.
Ah.
And it's not just Mongolian. Like a lot of languages have gone through similar changes, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I need to take a deep breath. We've gone from spelling to cultural identity to like the evolution of language itself.
You have.
And we haven't even talked about the traditional Mongolian script yet.
Oh, that's right. We did mention it earlier.
We did, but it deserves more attention.
Yeah.
Like you said before, it's not just writing, it's like art.
It really is.
Yeah.
Each character is like this intricate design, written vertically flowing from left to right.
It's so different from the alphabets I'm used to. It sounds beautiful.
It is, and it has such a rich history.
Yeah.
It was the main script for Mongolian literature and history and religious texts for centuries.
Wow, centuries.
Yeah. But then during the Soviet period, they kind of pushed Cyrillic, and the traditional script got sidelined.
Oh, that's so sad.
It
It's like a whole part of their culture was almost lost.
was a tough time for sure. But thankfully, in recent decades, there's been this like resurgence of interest in reviving the traditional script.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah, people are realizing how important it is, and they're working hard to bring it back into everyday life.
So it's like a comeback story.
It totally is. But of course, there are challenges.
Like what?
Well, one big one is that a lot of people, especially younger generations, grew up using Cyrillic mainly.
Right.
So reintroducing the traditional script means like a lot of effort in education and just raising awareness.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like learning a whole new way of reading and writing.
Exactly. But it's so worth it.
So what's driving this renewed interest in the script?
I think it's about reclaiming their heritage, you know?
Like taking back a part of their culture that was almost lost.
Exactly. The traditional script isn't just about writing, it's a visual representation of their history, their stories, their connection to their ancestors.
Wow, so it's about way more than just letters on a page.
It totally is. It's about preserving the heart and soul of Mongolian culture.
That's beautiful, and it sounds like it's working. Like these efforts to teach the script in schools and promote it in public are gaining traction.
They really are. And
Wow.
technology is helping too, you know?
Oh, how so?
Well, there are digital fonts now and keyboards for the traditional script, so it's easier to use on computers and phones.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you even see it popping up in modern art and design.
So it's like they're blending the old with the new.
Exactly. It's not about clinging to the past, but about finding ways to make it relevant for today.
I love that. This whole conversation has really opened my eyes to the resilience of the Mongolian people and their dedication to their culture. It's inspiring.
It really is. And, you know, this deep dive into Ulaanbaatar, it's really highlighted the power of language.
In what way?
Well, it's not just about communication. It's about identity and history and cultural continuity.
Yeah, I'm realizing that every word has a story to tell.
Exactly. And sometimes all it takes is a little curiosity to unlock those stories.
And speaking of stories, we've been so focused on Mongolian culture and language that I almost forgot something.
What's that?
Didn't you mention that Ulaanbaatar has different names in other languages?
You have a great memory. And that's a perfect segue into our next exploration.
Ooh, a linguistic world tour.
Exactly. We've unpacked the layers of Ulaanbaatar, but how does the rest of the world refer to this incredible city?
I am so ready for this. But before we take off on our global adventure, I think we need to pause for a minute and let all this information sink in.
Agreed.
We'll be back soon for the final part of our Ulaanbaatar deep dive.
Okay, so we're back and ready to travel the world without even leaving our seats.
Exactly. Linguistic passports at the ready.
Love it. So we've been saying Ulaanbaatar this whole time, but that's just, the English version. Right, it's how we try to capture the sounds of the Mongolian word using our own alphabet.
But other languages have their own ways of saying it, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like everyone has their own unique hello to Ulaanbaatar.
So what are some of the most interesting or surprising variations out there?
Well, we already touched on Cyrillic, remember? Abakar.
Yeah, the Russian version.
Exactly, and that's pronounced pretty much the same as our version. But get this, in Chinese it becomes Ulan, which sounds like Ulaanbaatar.
Ulaanbaatar, wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
It's amazing how the same city can sound so different depending on the language.
It really is. Like each version adds another dimension to the city's identity.
And it shows how diverse the world is, right?
Exactly. Even something as basic as a city's name can highlight all these different cultural and linguistic perspectives.
So it's not just about the sounds. Are there other variations, like in the spelling or anything?
Yeah, for sure. Some languages use slightly different transliterations based on their own phonetic rules.
Transliterations.
Like how they try to represent the sounds of one language using the letters of another.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, in German, you might see it as Ulaanbaatar, even though that spelling is considered outdated in English.
Wow. So it's like a little linguistic time capsule.
I like that. It really highlights the connections between languages and how they've influenced each other over time.
This whole deep dive has really changed how I think about words. I used to think of them as fixed, unchanging things.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But now I see them as more dynamic and fluid, always evolving along with the people and cultures who use them.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we've uncovered this hidden layer of meaning beneath the surface of language.
And the coolest part is that this is just the beginning. Every word, every name, every place has the potential for a deep dive like this.
Absolutely. The world is full of these linguistic treasures just waiting to be discovered.
It's a reminder that we should always approach things with a sense of curiosity and wonder.
Couldn't agree more. So the next time you see Ulaanbaatar, whether it's on a map or in a book or whatever,
Yeah.
take a moment to appreciate all the layers of meaning behind it. Think about the red heroes, the ancient script, the diverse ways it's pronounced around the world.
It's a reminder that language connects us all in ways we might not even realize.
Beautifully said.
Well, that's a wrap on our Ulaanbaatar adventure.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.